pitiful. That is astonishing. Very good job.
Ahoy and welcome back to another Bonfire Chat. I think this is the 8th episode. Sir Lumber, how you doing?
I'm doing very well. Can't wait to talk about the video game of choice today. It's gonna be good.
We're going to be talking about Katamari Damacy, taking time out of our very busy days from downloading every old game I've played before onto this thing before the world ends in a couple weeks.
Just slight flex here for the viewers. On
Can I see you push that button real
XL.
quick, just to show the functionality of that button? That is a button right there. That's very nice.
Nice rapid button press in there.
Good stuff.
Yeah. And then a Mario stylus here for
also
to
very
me.
important. Very important.
Yes.
Yeah, today we're talking about Katamari Damacy. How do you say it?
I've always heard it in my head as Damacy.
Katamari Damacy REROLL on the we played it on the Switch, and I've played Katamari in the past, but the reason I'm randomly playing this like 4-year-old game now, I know there's another REROLL coming out in a few months, but this game was on sale for what, $4?
It was like 85% off.
Yeah, it's something crazy. So, it was like $4. I had all gold points. I'm like, I'm gonna play some Katamari, and I remembered how fun Katamari is, and I just had to talk about it. So, Lumber, you played it as well. Have you played?
It was a first for me too.
I was gonna ask if you ever played Katamari.
No, and I think I always knew kind of what it was. Like when people referenced it, like only to the extent of you're rolling stuff up. And that's it. I was like, that's Katamari, great.
So what is your initial, you're right off the bat, like, your first impression of what you saw when you turned that game on and how it was?
Ooh, I mean, it's goofy. It's a PS2 era game, right, originally, and expects a certain level of goofiness in that kind of game. Especially, this very niche, like, random genre of just rolling stuff up. Like,
oh, you haven't been playing the ball roll-up genre very often?
I haven't, so I haven't quite cracked into that.
Of course.
Niche there, but so aside from that, it has its own brand of just weirdness with the presentation, like the whole setup for the game, and you don't necessarily need
the music is goofy.
The music, everything about it is really weird, and I think it's because you start with a very simple concept, like roll stuff up, make ball go big.
Yes, make ball.
But then, I guess they really wanted to make it more interesting than that. So.
I need ideas. Yes, put it on the board. Put it on the board. Yes, good idea.
Yeah, dude, I would have loved to see their like whiteboard with
but it's terrifying.
The string connecting stuff. Oh man, it wouldn't have made any sense. Like,
So for anyone who hasn't played Katamari, you alluded to it, but basically you are I guess you're called the Prince. Is that what you are? Just the Prince?
Like Prince of the Cosmos. I guess.
Yeah, and your father, who's above me on the frame here, this is the King of the Cosmos, and basically he's like, I don't know if is he training you? Is he having you? What is he doing to you? Like,
kind of. Well, I think the premise is that the Cosmos like lost their stars or something, and your task is to make new stars by rolling up a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, so he sent you
into space.
So he sent you to Earth, and you start off like the first level. So you're like in a really small environment, and you have this little Katamari ball, and you're just rolling it. You're literally just running. You can see your character running like this. If you look behind Sir Lumber over there, you can see him running. But you're just rolling, and as you roll over things smaller than you, they get added to your ball, which makes your ball bigger, which makes you roll over bigger things, and then you just turn into this awful amorphous blob of terror.
Quite literally snowballs, and it has that very satisfying, like, you get past a certain point and just nothing can stop you.
Nothing can stop you.
And we can talk more about the levels and stuff, but that's the premise. Is that you can obviously roll up something that is. I don't even know if you can roll up something that's the same size as you. I think maybe it has to be slightly smaller, and that's what restricts you. So as you keep finding things in the level that are like the appropriate size for how big your Katamari ball is, you just keep going around. It's kind of a puzzle in that sense, especially from the beginning. You have to figure out, like, okay, where can I go to get all the stuff that is the appropriate size that I can actually roll up? And then again, once you get to a certain size, it kind of like it picks up pace pretty quickly. So.
Yeah, so all the levels are like, he'll basically be like, you have 8 minutes to roll up something this big, and then you do that, and then the next level's a little bit different.
I guess I think there are different modes, and you can probably speak to this, but I didn't realize that there was any time limit on it, so that was, I guess, a good and a bad, because the game is very satisfying once you start rolling up stuff, but then when the timer cuts, it's like,
I think the time limit it was a smart game design choice, because if they keep letting you going, you're just gonna do that thing, and you're gonna get it all out of your system. Like, I made ball go really big.
Yeah.
But they cut you off at like 5 or 6 minutes where your ball's you're not quite where you want to be, so you go to the next level, and they let you get a little bit bigger. And as the game goes, you're getting a little bit bigger and a little bit bigger, and then they let you go ham at the end. But yeah, I guess let's talk about a first thing I want to talk about. It's actually kind of a negative for me. I want to talk about how you control the ball.
It's
so
not good.
it's like I said, you're imagine you're a little guy rolling the ball, and the way you control this ball is you have to use double thumbsticks.
Yeah,
so like
it's really weird.
To go forward, you put both thumbsticks forward.
Right.
And to go like left, you put them both left.
You alternate, like,
you
in order
alternate,
to turn,
you're right.
One is up and one is down. I couldn't tell you which is which.
Yeah, so you push.
The
So think of the joysticks like your hands. So if you push the right one up, your right hand pushes it, which makes the ball go left. So you like start pushing like this, and then you turn the other, put your left stick forward. You start pushing it like this, and that's how you turn. And it's kind of it's kind of unintuitive at first, and it kind of messes you up. But really, once you get to a big enough size, it doesn't matter. If you accidentally roll the wrong way, you're just rolling over something else. It doesn't really matter. When you're small, it can get kind of frustrating. I didn't do any of the weird techniques like the boost thing.
Oh, like I did it a couple times to like, if I, it was very situational. Like I needed to, if I was running out of time or something, but normally it didn't come down to the wire like that. I was just kind of casually, doing my loops. So
and then there's like quick turns and stuff. I just rolled around. The game's pretty liberal with the time limit. Like you don't really have to worry about like losing. So I just kind of, if I messed up, I would just.
I think maybe one time, and the King of the Cosmos was very upset with me.
Oh he did.
How dare you?
I lost for like a little 7 or 8 or whatever it was, and he gets mad. It's kind of terrifying. He puts you in this screen where like you're like on the ground on your knees, and he's like above you, and it's like terrifying. And I'll try to find a clip of that to show here. But so overall the controls were not a highlight, but I kind of somewhat got used to them.
There was an option to change them to basically make it one joystick for like pushing and like directionally, and in order to turn, I think instead of having like do the alternate like joystick like configuration, you just hold R, and then it was like you push one way or left or right on the right joystick. So you're pushing forward on the left joystick, and then you're changing your direction with the right joystick. So it was closer to what like made sense in my brain for like this kind of motion and then camera motion, like like that. It just worked better for me. I think it was like the simple controls. I kind of felt insulted when I changed it. That it's like I think this is more just a preference. Like this game is not. It doesn't. There's no like inherent benefit to one or the other unless you like I said, my brain just didn't work well with the other one. So
you told me about
I guess I'm glad that option was there.
You told me about the option. I was already like 3 or 4 levels in. I'm like, if I switch now, it's gonna be like learning. It's gonna be starting all over again. I'm have to learn.
It was much easier though. Like you think it wouldn't have been like a learning curve. It was they're simpler controls. So you probably would have been fine. But I after a level or 2, I was like, no, I don't like this. So that made it better for sure.
But that is my biggest complaint about the game. So now I think we can talk about some of the fun stuff I like about it.
It's definitely controls. 100% the controls.
The controls are the biggest downside. But really, if you power through it and just kind of have fun making ball go big, it's kind of fun. I want to talk about some of my most satisfying moments in the game. Do you have anything that comes to mind for you that's like? I'll say for me, the point in a level that like felt really good is when I got people-sized. When I got
very morbid, but yes.
It is very morbid. When I got people-sized, you can start running. Once you get people-sized, then you're car-sized, and then you're car-sized, you're tree-sized, and then you're anyway. But the funniest thing. So with people size, I loved when the police officers would see you, and they would all like kind of turn at you and they'd like start shooting at you to no avail. They unload at you.
Stop.
It doesn't do anything, and then you roll over them. And then the funniest, but also like the darkest part of this game, when you roll over humans, you can hear them screaming in the blob. There's like screaming, like this like awful thing, but it's kind of hilarious at the same time.
You brought it up. Maybe I'll save this for one of the. I know we're gonna talk about funniest moments, but there is one moment in particular that sticks out with like when it relates to like rolling up people, like something that the King of the Cosmos said. But
We'll get back.
I think that switch. I think that's probably about the right size if you think about like what's most common in the level. Like there's a bunch of people walking around, except for the earlier levels. It's a really constrained space. But maybe if you look at it that way, whatever is like the most medium-sized thing in the level, once you get to that, like you go crazy. You get all those things, and just like it really like builds up. It's not so much like a search at that point, because you start off the level and you're searching for like the really small stuff, and then the slightly less small, and it's like kind of that incremental thing. But then there's a point where you just like you
hit the inflection point, like I really like that as you get bigger, the world. I don't know what they're doing. If it's like loading in different versions of the world, but like the perspective changes where you don't see the small stuff anymore. You get too big to see it.
Right. It's actually kind of impressive. Like
it is.
That game is doing like
it kind of like blurs. It blurs the screen when you like change sizes. It like does this weird like screen blur. Like
and there's like a noise
that's like an effect. Like oh you got bigger, but what it like loads in like a different version of the same level in that moment, which is actually really neat. But anything else come to your mind that like just like really satisfying moments? I liked when you it was kind of annoying when you get a strange shaped thing and you'd roll like goong.
It's funny that level of realism where it takes into account this like pole that's sticking off the side.
Exactly.
You're gonna like roll and then it comes around and you're like dude like I thought it was annoying but also simultaneously like hilarious because it's like not a perfectly shaped ball. Like it takes into consideration the actual shape of the items you're picking up. So it is pretty funny. Yeah. So other than that, I think it's funny to like reduce it down to this, but the game really is just that based on what I experienced. It's rolling things up, and so when you hit that inflection point where nothing can stop you, that's the most satisfying thing. I think that's what they were trying to do. Yeah. So they succeeded there. So props to them. How old is that game? I've given them props like 15, 20 years.
Let's say mid to early 2000s. Probably 15, 20 years.
Yeah. So from me, they can now know they have my approval after all this.
They have your approval. Actually, it's probably 20 because it was PS2 and PS3 was like 2006, right? 2007.
Yeah, something like that.
So it was 20, probably at least 20 years ago.
Yeah, 20 years ago.
Pretty crazy. Yeah. Let's talk about the side levels. Did you do any of the side levels?
I did them all. And I think that there were, if I remember correctly, there were 22 total levels. And maybe like 8 of them or something like that were like the side levels. So they were like, what do you call it? What was the
constellations? Like
or like
zodiac signs.
Zodiac signs. Yeah, zodiac signs. Yeah. So they were themed around a specific thing, like fish or
it's like Pisces. Roll over all the fish.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So like, and that was kind of neat. I think. I guess your question was going to be leading to like how do we compare
compared to the regular levels? How do you like the side levels?
So I think it was kind of interesting to be able to search around for that stuff, and you could still, if I remember correctly, roll up other things in like to help you get to like bigger fish or bigger, whatever. I'm blanking on other things that were there, but the Pisces just sticks in my head. I do remember that level being really fun, but it does limit this already simple game to like. Your goal isn't to just roll up everything; it's to roll up this specific stuff and get as many of them as you can in a certain amount of time. Which that was only some of them. There were other goals for a couple of the other ones that I did not do very well in because of this is where I think the mechanics of the game, the physics of the game, kind of hinder you a little bit. But with the ones where it's just like roll up X amount or like as many as you can of this certain item or this certain thing, fish, whatever. I thought it was fun, like sure, to have a more specific goal other than just get big.
You mentioned some that like that aren't. The goal is not roll up as many of these, but it's like there's one, for example, it's like roll up the biggest bear you can find.
Right.
Yeah. And I remember
I rolled up
this level, it's like roll up the biggest bear you can find. I'm like, oh,
which means, to contextualize this, that means you have to get your Katamari big enough to roll up whatever the biggest bear is
to get
out
the
there,
biggest
so you
bear.
can roll up other stuff.
So I'm playing, and I'm thinking, it says roll up the biggest bear. I'm like, oh, well, I'm going to roll up the small bear on the way. I just go roll up the small bear, and it's like, good job. That's the biggest bear you got. And it like cut off, and it brings out my awful little planet. It's just a little planet with one bear on it. It's this tiny little bear, and he's like, the King of the Cosmos is like, oh, that wasn't great. Like,
it's like, but I guess we'll use it.
But it gave me credit for beating the level, and I never went back and played that level again. I was like, well, this is the bear I got. I got the smallest bear.
I may have tried the bear one like twice. And there was another one for it was the same concept, cows or something maybe. I think it was a cow one. But yeah, the game works against you because you're trying to get as big as possible so you can get the biggest bear in this case. But if you get too big, it becomes very hard to control the small things that come along with you. So like you could inadvertently just roll over a very tiny bear, and it's like that's what you get credit for. Instead, even though you were probably big enough to roll up something else,
big bear.
But you were trying to get bigger. So it's
big bear.
And I get that's like the whole thing is that's supposed to be challenging. You want to, but it's not. The game does not control well enough to be like to have very fine movement, so you're avoiding stuff because you don't. The whole rest of the levels like you're not trying to avoid stuff unless you can't roll it up. But if you can roll it up, you're rolling it up. Is what you've been trained to do. So those kind of work against you.
Overall, the side levels, I thought it was a fun change of pace because I'm playing this game to do ball go big. That's what I want. I want to get as big as possible. That's what I'm here for.
Right.
But I think the side levels were fun to add in, like just to add a little spice or flair, like some little challenges you can do if you don't want to just roll up something really big. So I'm glad they're there. I just personally, it's not my favorite part of the game. But I think they do have a nice change of pace from the story levels. And it's like a good mix of them. It's like probably 50-50 side levels and main levels.
It may even be a little bit more skewed to the main levels. I think there's less than the main levels, but it's probably about the same.
So side levels, good. Regular levels, that's what I'm here for.
Right. And if we're talking about the regular levels, those did do a good job of like building on the previous one. Like you start off a little bit bigger, and it's a slightly different environment. Or I didn't know if it was all the same starting place, but it starts letting you have more and more access.
It was weird because it kept saying like, "Oh, you're going to start in this country now," but it was like you're starting in like this. It was all very similar. Yeah, I didn't get that part of the game, but it whatever.
That's not the only thing I didn't get.
Fair enough. Let's just go over to like any standout funny moments you have. Do you have what's the standout, like what's the moment for you that like was like
Well, you mentioned rolling up people, which I know this sounds very morbid, but the game does it, and I didn't choose this. But you're rolling.
I chose it.
Yeah. Well, it's very funny because the King of the Cosmos will, as you get larger in the levels, will come in and say random things and comment on like, oh, like you're only that size still, like come on, like pick up the pace, or like if you roll up some random thing like, oh, that was interesting. I rolled up like an elderly couple. He goes, what a beautiful couple.
Nice.
And they're screaming like
they're like
It's so funny because in the beginning of the game, I'm pretty sure he says something like, we try to avoid rolling up like living things, but
it happens.
Things happen.
Things happen.
That was probably the funniest moment I can just remember. Everything else is kind of the same, and there's probably several quotes that that were goofy, but that was the funniest one, just about the couple.
Yeah, as far as funny moments, I did think it was funny when I accidentally rolled over the small bear, but that's not super funny.
Yeah.
I think just like overall, some of the strange situations that you come across, like the people, like in like what they're doing, doesn't make any sense sometimes. Like I saw one guy, I think one guy who was like riding a bike, like, or he was a bike. I don't even really know what's going on. He's like leaning forward and like some of the weird like people they have and like I don't know, like.
Oh, you mean and the police officers just start unloading on you?
Unloading it. Yeah, that.
It was a very annoying sound too. I made it to like roll them up as soon as possible.
I'm getting that police officer. Yeah. Gosh, yeah. It's just some of the stuff you see. Like it's something you have to kind of experience to like see the weird stuff they put together. It kind of reminded me of like a WarioWare game. Like when you play a WarioWare mini game and it cuts to the next screen, it's just some like weird, like absurd thing. That's what this was. Like just rolling around, you just see random crap. That's just very strange the whole time.
The way that the world was organized, like some of it was like, okay, that's a school, that's like an office building, that's like a whatever. But then there was just like random things, like there was like, as the levels got bigger, there was like a kraken in the middle of the ocean, or just random stuff like mermaids and like just random things.
A giant man.
There was like I guess what they were trying to show. It looked like they were superheroes, like they were dressed in tights and stuff, and like flying around. And they were giants.
They were like building sized.
Yeah, so there were certain things that they like. Yeah, there was like a Godzilla style monster like fighting another monster. Like there was like maybe little references, like pop culture things too. It was really goofy, but very random at the same time.
Another, I guess, funny, not moment, but series of moments is this game does have a story. And there are like
I didn't even touch on that because I didn't know how to explain it.
I don't know how to explain it either. I'm gonna try. There's like cutscenes in between levels with a different but equally strange art style. And it's just like a family like
they're like very cubed, like cubical, very square.
Exactly. They're very strange, and it's like it's like a little boy and girl like talking to their mom, and like they're just like going about their day and. I think you're
they seem to be searching for their father, like
that may or may not have been rolled up in my ball.
Yeah, that's unclear.
But it's like you're like getting hints of you like in the background, like destroying their planet. I guess I don't really know what that.
But then every time you send up a new star from the level, that's what happens. You get this big ball and you give it to the King of the Cosmos, and he sends it up into the cosmos. It's like, oh, that's a star now.
Yeah.
And they recognize like, oh, that star was missing before, and it's back. So that's like the overarching like story is that stars are gone, put them back in the sky. But then at the expense of the entire world that you're just
exactly. And it's just I felt it was like funny they included it because I don't know what purpose it served other than just be like a strange like cut between levels. It was
some of them I skipped because I was like, it was like slow and they were just like talking like
it's like uncomfortable.
And like I just I don't want to listen to this.
I would play this game. I play like a level or two a night, and every time without fail, I would forget this was gonna happen. And I'm playing and like, oh, this is a fun level, and then this story thing came up, and I would just like sometimes I just lost it. I'm like, what's going on? What am I looking at?
It was really weird. The fact that the story of the things they were saying were goofy enough, but the art style that it presented in, it's like totally different from the rest of the game. So
it's very strange.
It's so weird. Yeah.
But also, I'm kind of glad it was there, just because it just added to this game's charm and how unique it is, and how it's nice to have something different that isn't trying to take itself too seriously. It's just out of this world weird. But
I think that I think I've seen the guy's name before. The guy who was like the director or like the developer or whatever the game. I'm sure he just told his team like go at it, like just
whatever
do random
sounds
stuff,
fun.
Throw random things. It doesn't matter. Like you do the story. I don't care what you write about. Just make it connected to the stars in the sky. Like that's all I care about.
Yeah. So, your prompt is stars are reappearing in the sky. Like
right. It's like I don't care what else you do with it. And they really took that seriously.
You got 30 minutes.
So. Yeah. Write me a story.
Overall, it was a great game. Maybe one of the most satisfying last levels to a video game I've ever played. It really, the climax is the best part of that game because it's like it's literally building to it the whole time, and then you finally get to just go crazy, and it's the best part of the game. And then they add in, when you beat the game, you unlock endless mode, so you can just roll around as long as you want, get as big as you want.
I didn't actually test that. No, I didn't even dabble in that.
Yeah, I did it one time. I just like sat there for like 30 minutes, just like drinking a coffee and just like rolling up everything. That was fun.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a great game. It's not a super long game. I think 5 hours maybe. 4 or 5 hours.
I mean something like that. Yeah, I think it's.
If you do all the side levels. Yeah, if you do all the side levels, say 5 hours.
Yeah. Sure.
5, 6, but I did enjoy the game. I'm glad to re-experience it, and I'm very excited for the sequel remake to come. I think it's later this summer.
I think it's in June. Yeah.
Is it okay? So the names of these games are strange. There's Katamari Damacy, and the next one's either called I Love or We Love Katamari. I can't remember which one it is.
Regardless, the one that's coming out as a remake, I think, is We Love Katamari.
Okay. So We Love Katamari.
Plus, something like, Reverie, like it's like an extra
Royal
thing
Reverie. It's like it's a new backstory where you play as the King of the Cosmos. It's like a new
I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah, it's new content. When he was the Caprit size, yeah.
Yeah, I think I may grab that game as like if they're coming out with a physical version of it.
Yeah, I'll probably get it physically.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's like $30, and I may even have to go back and just get maybe keep a sealed copy of the physical one of the one we just played because it's really goofy, man.
Yeah, it's gonna be that game's gonna be a great antithesis to like the summer of like Zelda, Street Fighter, Final Fantasy, and
Resident Evil coming out, which is not summer, but you know, all these things in the first half of the year that are some of them more serious and like really, really big games and like really involved with the story and stuff like that.
And then just me just going. Yeah. I'm sure I edited in the music to this game, but the music to this game is
I hope so.
Bonkers. It is the weirdest, goofiest. It's just like a dude in a room, just like singing to himself. I don't even really know what's going on, but
I would love to see what the recording setup was like for that person. Like the beginning level, like the beginning of the level with the music is much more chill and low key, but it starts going, man. As you get bigger, like it makes sure it keeps pace with you. And it
there was one that had like this like nice jazz. It's fine. It's like a nice jazz song. Like a jazzy song. One of those is pretty good. But like
going on in there,
the one I think of, like the main menu theme and like the last level, is just this goofy. It's like just some dude like making like noise, but it's like.
I hope there's a recording out there somewhere for like that song. Hopefully, it's just one dude on like with the one man band, like with a bunch of instruments attached to him. Like I want to see that.
Well, you just reminded me of something very strange. I think it's a great thing to end on, just how strange this game is. Sure. You're talking about wanting to see the recording of this guy singing the song. You should look up the recording of the people singing the Chili's Baby Back Ribs song. Like, they're in the studio. You can watch the video of them singing. It is incredible.
If you know what the video is, and you probably find it quicker than I do. Just send it to me.
It is incredible. It's so awesome. Anyway, I think that's a good thing to end on with just the It's in
shout
theme.
Out to the Chili's Baby Back.
Baby back. Yeah, it's in theme.
Oh, dude, I'm gonna have to find that. Okay.
Yeah. All right, so any last minute thoughts on this this lovely strange game?
Nothing other than it got me hooked. Like I said, I'll get the next one, and it's too bad I didn't play it back in the day, but it's very, very goofy. I understand why it's like a cult classic essentially.
Yeah.
So,
$4 well spent.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. I spent gold coins as well, so yeah, 100%. Good purchase. Yeah.
Good stuff. All right. Well, I think we'll call it there. Thank you for watching. Thank you for your help, Sir Lumber, and we'll catch you next time.
The small thing? I don't know. Of course, you have a smaller or available. That's hilarious, actually. Why do you have that?